Hey everyone, this is Brian Holmes with the Strategic Living Podcast and brianholmes.com. You're listening to my great friend Stephanie O'Brien, and you are about to be moved by purpose.
You have to start. You have to start somewhere. I love the quote from Zig Ziglar. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great.
Are you longing to know what your purpose is? Are you on the wrong career path? Do you feel like there must be more to life? Don't worry, there's hope. It's time to be moved by purpose. Now your host, Stephanie O'Brien.
You are listening to the Moved by Purpose podcast, and I want to remind everyone to take action quickly for my mastermind group. I know that a lot of you listen to these podcasts while you are doing chores, driving, running, doing something, you're multitasking, and that is totally okay. But please remember, if you are interested in the mastermind group, that you actually need to email me and let me know so I can inform you on what the group is about and see if there's a good fit for the group. And let's get on with the show. Today's guest is another friend of mine. You may have noticed that a lot of my friends have a common denominator, and that is that we met through an affiliation with Dan Miller. And his name is Michael McGreevy. He has devoted his life to the study of leadership and living a life of meaning. Leaders often find themselves in a lonely place, giving everything to others while their own needs for support, perspective, accountability, and balance are neglected. So Michael supports leaders all over the country through one-on-one coaching and leadership mastermind groups. Leaders can have both strong families and thriving organizations, and he helps them create and sustain both. Welcome to the show, Michael. I am pumped to have you on today.
Stephanie, it is great to be here. Even though it's sub-zero temperatures, it's still warm where we're recording, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, I'm excited for spring to come soon. So,
Same here.
The first question I usually ask my guests are asking for a background. What is your work history, and what led you to starting the business that you're working on now?
Gosh, I've done everything under the sun. I'll try not to be overbearing with my answer here, but when I first got out of college, I did not have a clue about what I wanted to do. So what I did is I jumped on a construction crew right away and learned how to build houses. And I went from there to cutting down trees to working in warehouses, and then I said to myself, well, I have a college degree, so I want to at least appear that I'm important or doing something professional. So I got a sales job.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so I did sales for about 4 years and got to wear a suit every day and thought I was cool for a while, but there was something missing. There was no passion in what I was doing. So I decided, well, let me do some work that has a meaning. And so I started working for a nonprofit that worked with inner city kids and taught them construction skills. And I was fired from that job because funding ran out for the program. And I found myself, as a recent homeowner, working on my house with no income.
Oh, no fun.
Not at all. But one day somebody came up to me on my street and noticed that I was working on my house and asked me to do some work for them. And when I was working on that person's house, another neighbor asked me to do work on their house. And it kept happening. And that happened for about 4 years.
Oh, nice.
So I built a construction company just kind of out of necessity, and it was a talent that I already had. But lo and behold, a few years down the line, I was faced with that same issue of not really feeling the passion in it and not feeling like this is what I was made to do, this is what I should be doing. And throughout my life, I'd always had kind of a propensity to want to help people and work with people to make them better. And then I met Dan Miller, who was a coach and author and speaker. I'm sure you folks have heard of him.
Yes, they have. I think almost every guest brings him up.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's when I first realized it was possible to actually make money with helping people. And that was with his Coaching with Excellence conference. And then from there, it's been another crooked path that I continue to walk down, and I learn a little bit more every day. And I have failures, and I have victories, and I have days where I want to quit and days where I'm on the top of the world, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
And that really sums up the journey of finding or creating work that you love and really being diligent in seeking what it is that really lights your fire or finding that sweet spot. And your journey sounds very, I didn't do a construction company, but the journey of not feeling like what you're doing is right for you. And was that where we met, Coaching with Excellence?
It sure was.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Went to the same conference. Life was changed as well. So
Awesome.
So did you notice any type of pattern or process when you were exploring different options with trying to really hone in, like, what is that sweet spot?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I want to say that I found it, but I am still in the process of finding it. Mm-hmm. But one thing I do know is that it jacks me up and fires me up to see somebody realize that they can do the work that they love and that they can actually make a profit from that. And seeing somebody come alive and seeing somebody offer the gifts that they have to the world is just so rewarding for me. And I think that's why I love coaching so much, is because so many people are in jobs that absolutely despise, and they just can't stand getting up in the morning and going, and every Sunday feels like this dread fest of, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to go back to work on Monday. And I love this quote by Henry David Thoreau. He says, "Most men live lives of quiet desperation and go to the grave with their song still in them." And what a tragedy that is, that there's so many talented, passionate people out there, and the song that they were meant to offer the world, the gift that we're to offer the world, gets buried in their grave, and they never give that opportunity to offer it. And so that's why I'm passionate about finding people to help in that arena.
And that is such a powerful quote, and it speaks volumes to me. And that quote I see a lot with people. I mean, everywhere I look, I just see so many lifeless faces, and it's just really heartbreaking to see. And I don't know if you've noticed this pattern too, or asked this question, or in your work with people. Do you have any idea what would make somebody stay in something that is so miserable for them?
That's a fantastic question. And I know the answer to it because I've done it myself. And really what it is fear. It's fear of change. It's fear that you're not good enough to do what you want, or that you won't be able to make money, or that you'll lose security. And this illusion that staying in something that you hate gives you security, it's really just that. It's an illusion. Actually, a job where you work for somebody else means that you are subject to their decisions. If one day they want to walk in and say, "Hey, thanks for your help, but we're moving in a different direction," that doesn't sound very secure to me. But if you invest in yourself and you go after your dream and become somebody that offers something to the world, you're never going to fire yourself. I mean, unless you're doing the wrong thing, you could. But realistically, if you have developed those skills to offer something to the world, you have a job for the rest of your life. So the security is actually an illusion.
Absolutely. And from branching out on my own to letting go of that steady, quote, secure, stable paycheck to dealing with an income that fluctuates, or maybe even having a month where very little to nothing is coming in, I can see how that is. There are certain people that are scared of that journey. But there are ways and wise ways to make a transition financially.
Yes.
So it's not maybe as high risk. People say, oh, that's risky. And we hear Dan say that a lot. But there's ways to set yourself up about a transition.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you did this as well. Mm. So do you want to share kind of how you done it or are doing it?
Absolutely, yeah. I had a well-established construction company that was providing me a steady income that made me comfortable. And I think one thing your listeners should know that haven't launched yet is it doesn't look like finding exactly what you want and then throwing all your eggs in one basket and starting. Like, that's irresponsible almost, right? To jump into something where you haven't developed the talent and the skill to make an income. So there's steps to get there, and it should be done a little bit at a time, but consistently. So the first thing I would say is you have to start. You have to start somewhere. I love the quote from Zig Ziglar. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. What does it look like starting when you don't know your passion or your purpose? Just be helpful. Just develop relationships with as many people as possible and be helpful. Now, you can correct wrong decisions, but you can't adjust indecision. I love the metaphor of a canoe going down a river. If you're going with the current and you're not moving forward, you cannot steer. But if you are paddling forward above the current, then you have control and you can steer. You have to start in order to adjust and then find the direction that you are supposed to go in. The next step, I would say, is you absolutely need to read, listen, and invest. So books, podcasts, conferences, and you may have to sell something in order to fund your growth, but it's worth it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's who you become. It's not the opportunity you find. So you need to take time to invest in yourself and spend money on that. It might mean not having cable anymore. It might mean selling something that you really love. But in the end, when you become somebody, that is what's going to fund your life anyway. And then the third thing I would say is you want to make sure you're around the right people. Now, I think we've all had situations where we've had unhealthy relationships. And somehow we feel like we owe them our friendship, or we feel like we need to stick around just because we've known them for so long. But if those relationships are toxic and they keep pulling us down, sometimes we do have to break those relationships, or at least distance ourselves somewhat. And on the other side of that, we do have to go out and seek people that are contributing to our success and bringing us up. Like, I love what you're doing, Stephanie, with your mastermind group. That has been such a key part of my own growth. So if anyone's listening out there and thinking about joining a mastermind, for sure sign up for Stephanie's mastermind, because it will change your life, having the right people around you.
Thank you.
Sure. The fourth thing I want to mention is to plant seeds. So we've all heard the you reap what you sow message, and that's so often negative, right? That means like if you do something wrong, karma's going to come and get you or something. But there's a whole nother side to that. You reap what you sow means you're going to have to plant a ton of seeds. You're going to have to do a bunch of different things, and some things will sprout up and grow, others won't. Some opportunities will take forever to come to fruition, and others will show up immediately. It's just the way it is. But you still have to consistently, every day, plant seeds. And that's being helpful. That's developing relationships, finding out what opportunities are out there, connecting with the right people. All those things, they have to be planted on a daily basis, just a little bit at a time. You don't have to have it all figured out, but just keep planting seeds over and over again, and something will sprout up. And the last thing I want to mention is get comfortable with failing. Failure is one of the steps on the stairs to greatness. It's just part of it. It's part of the process. And it's not something to fear. Failure is actually something that propels you toward your goals and toward greatness. Because when you fail, it is such an amazing opportunity to gain wisdom, to learn, to become more as a person. And it's just part of the journey. So get comfortable with it now. And it's going to save you a lot of heartache down the road if you do that.
We'll get back to the show after this quick announcement. Want to know the secret behind the people that have built successful 6-figure and 7-figure businesses? I know I sure was wondering what that was. Of all the entrepreneurs I have interviewed, all of them have invested in their training and in the success of other people. So what is the fastest way to grow your business? You probably guessed it right if you've been paying any attention to any of the leading experts out there, and that is by joining a mastermind group. The best mastermind groups require a financial investment. This ensures the commitment of every member in the group. The free ones just do not have the commitment from the members. They have inconsistent attendance, which ends up being a waste of everyone's time. If you want to rapidly grow your business, it just won't happen if you do not invest any money. I hate to break it to you, but the businesses that grow the fastest are due to the fact that people have invested in their own personal and business development. They have invested in a mastermind group, hired coaches, paid for trainings, marketing, a supportive team to delegate and offload the responsibilities. It is a fact that you cannot build your business alone. Without the feedback, input, and idea sharing or brainstorming of other business-minded people, you will not see the success you are hoping to see anytime soon. Who is looking at your sales copy, your website, marketing flyers? If it's a friend or a family member, do they own their own businesses? Who is helping you process through and solidify networking strategies and rocking that sales process? What about the pricing on your packages? I cover all of these business boosting techniques and strategies in my mastermind group. So join my mastermind group to learn all the strategies, secrets, resources, and share ideas that will get you transitioned out of your day job in a year. This group is for people who are already clear on their business idea and are hustling to make things happen. This group will just speed up the success and boost your profits. At a bargain price of $250 a month, you will not find any other mastermind group out there like this that has the amount of training and coaching made available to you. Think you can't afford that? Trust me, you really cannot afford not to. Home study programs, books, and consuming free podcasts and blogs will only get you so far. Building your business with a group of committed members is the missing key to your business success. Don't delay. Register today and get a $50 off per month bonus. Yes. Failure is a big thing too. Fear of failure that holds people back as well.
Absolutely.
And be resilient too. Because some people will step out and take a risk, but because there was a failure, sometimes that failure hurts. Mm-hmm. And there's a recovery period, a healing period, I do agree, but be careful not to almost coddle yourself or baby yourself from stepping out and doing it again.
Yeah, that's really good, Stephanie, because the longer that we wait and self-loathe and beat ourselves up for a mistake that we made, the more time we're losing on taking steps to learn in that situation. Entrepreneur is a collection of missteps and struggle. It's never a smooth path, but that's part of the beauty of it. And that path is what purifies you and helps you focus and take steps toward who you are meant to be. It's the person you become on that path that's important.
Very true. And perspective, too, is trying to have a positive perspective or maybe a joyful experience, even though the circumstances or what you're going through may not be as pleasant. Try to find the gift in it or the lesson from it. Mm-hmm. And really, for me, when I experienced one of my bigger failures, which I talked about over at Entrepreneur on Fire, which was a launch that I just fully believed would do really well, and it did not well at all. And that was a big hit. That took long. But at the same time, I'll just out my own self. Like, I had to learn to have gratitude for that experience rather than resentment and bitterness. And looking back, I'm realizing, like, because of that mistake, I personally believe that I am so much farther ahead because of that mistake, because it taught me so many valuable things about the importance of serving and establishing relationships and being focused and strategic and all these things that it probably would have taken me a lot longer to learn those things if I didn't go through such a difficult failure for me. So there are blessings from it.
Absolutely. And if you didn't go through that failure, what would you have to work with when you're going forward with your next launch?
Exactly.
Is that not an amazing resource for you now to build a launch that is effective and helps more people?
Right. And much more organized. And yeah, it got me to hustle. I mean, there are so many amazing people and relationships that I've built as a result, really, from that failure when I learned, like, quit wasting time on building a website and getting pamphlets and all of the stuff that people can get distracted in is logo and design and slogans and like, all of that. And I spent all my time doing that and thinking that was the foundation. And then it's like out of nowhere, you just ask people who don't know who you are. They're like, wait a minute, what? Because I'm thinking, like, well, I have a website. They're like, so what?
So in all that, you discovered that the relationship is paramount over all the other stuff.
Oh my goodness. And relationships take a while to develop and to nurture. So there are different ways and strategies to be able to get some relationships built, but you should always, be careful not to develop relationships just for the sake of, I want something from them. Do it to really give value to them and really serve them, whether they ever give anything in return from you or not.
That's good.
And I think it does take some honest introspection of, let's say, for example, I don't know, think of a bigger name, Michael Hyatt. There's a lot of people that would love Michael Hyatt to know who they are. Understandably so, because he's got such a big platform. And I think Michael is wonderful. I would love to have a conversation with him. And so I am making efforts to try to have a conversation with him, but it's not so much because he has 500,000 people on his list. And it's because he is someone that's doing something that I would love to do at a level that I would love to do it at. And I would love to learn, and I would love to get the word out. I tell people about him all the time. We promote Dan Miller all of the time. And because they're doing really great work and you want more people served and helped. But I think some people just look at those big numbers, and that's why they have to say no so much, because some people just go after them just because they want the promotion. So just keep that in check for people that are like that. And it's not that it's wrong for wanting to. Just remember the motive. So
yeah, that's a really good word. And I can tell a quick story about how serving somebody translated into something that is now becoming the core of my business, which is totally unexpected. So I talked about starting. And one of the ways I started is writing a blog. And one of my blogs was about facing fear, because I have a personal struggle with fear and anxiety that I've been able to overcome. But somebody on my mailing list read that blog, and they were a distant friend. And they reached out to me and said, hey, I'm struggling with some fear. Is there a way we can get together and talk about it? And in that moment, I could have said, well, it costs this much to talk to me. You want to send me a check and we'll get this conversation going? But something in me said, well, no, I just have to serve this person and see what they actually need and see how I can help them. And I'll develop a relationship here, and maybe something will work out down the road. And that's what a seed looks like. So for a few months, I met with this person. I talked about what I do as a coach. They didn't hire me. I didn't spend a whole lot of time, but I spent time investing in this person and developing a relationship. Well, a few months later, they hired me as a coach for one-on-one coaching. And come to find out, he was a principal at a local school, and he brought me in to do leadership training at his school, which his school paid for several months. And now I'm finding that I absolutely love working with leaders, and what I'm doing with him, I'm finding like some amazing results. And it all came out of just sitting down and starting and writing a blog about fear. And that's what a good seed that sprouts could look like. And believe me, I've had plenty that have not worked out. But all you need is a few to then start that momentum to the direction that you're made to go in.
Yes. I have friends that do remind me ever so kindly when I find myself a little bit discouraged. And seeds do die, and they have to die before they produce anything. So that's kind of something I have to remember too, is they all have to die. And whether they'll ever produce something or not, just remember that they all have to die. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's good. And I've had a lot of days where I wake up and I just feel defeated. I feel like, man, I'm such a joke. I'm a fraud. I can't believe people would pay me to do this. And I want to quit the whole thing. And one day when I woke up with that feeling, I just started writing. And just started writing out all my feelings about where I was at. And I actually turned it into this document that I pull out to this day when I have a bad day, and I call it the Rut Manifesto. And I would love to share that with your audience, because I'm sure they have days like that, and it just inspires me and it pulls me out of the pit that I've fallen into when I have days like that.
Oh, I would love that. I need to get my hands on that.
Got it. It's in your right, Stephanie.
Yeah. Well, Michael, I could talk to you for a long time, and I just want to respect your time. You have just shared so much wisdom. I really value this conversation. I know that the listeners have gotten so much value from your honesty and sharing your story. And thank you again for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Stephanie. It was so good to be with you today.
Yeah, so before we part, I would love to give the opportunity for people that want to reach out to you to actually know how to connect with you.
Absolutely. The quickest way to connect with me right now is probably through Twitter, which it's at Michael McGreeves, and the last name is McGreevs. And I'd love to hear you tweet at me, and I'd be happy to get back to you. So reach out to me.
Absolutely. And those are on the show notes as well. So make sure when you have a moment, if you are listening while driving or doing something else, that you take a moment to connect with him when you can. And thanks again, Michael.
Thanks, Stephanie. Have a great day. Get comfortable with failing. Failure is one of the steps on the stairs to greatness. It's just part of it. It's part of the process. And it's not something to fear. Failure is actually something that propels you toward your goals and toward greatness. Because when you fail, it is such an amazing opportunity to gain wisdom, to learn, to become more as a person. And it's just part of the journey. So get comfortable with it now. And it's going to save you a lot of heartache down the road if you do that.
So there you have it. That was Michael McGreevy over at McGreevyLeadership.com. Make sure you check out his website, and his link to his website is over in the show notes over at movedbypurpose.net. Just search his name, McGreevy, in the search bar, and his episode will pop right on up. Don't be a stranger. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and write a review in iTunes, Stitcher. Share this with your friends, and comment over at movedbypurpose.net. If there's a guest you want to recommend, or a topic or question that you have or would like to hear on the Moved by Purpose podcast, don't be a stranger. Reach out and let me know. And as always, if you don't know what to do, you're overwhelmed, and you feel stuck, the best way to get unstuck is through action. So get out there and just do something. And I'll talk to you all next week.